In a rare moment of genuine vulnerability during his conversation with Brendan Fraser, Dwayne Johnson's carefully constructed facade briefly cracked. Things could be so loud and noisy in our world, he admitted, but yet at the same time we can feel lonely, and we can feel alone. It was a fleeting glimpse behind the perpetual smile, the 4 a.m. workout posts, and the relentless positivity that has defined his public persona for over 2 decades. This moment encapsulates the central tragedy of modern celebrity, the exhausting performance of perfection that ultimately distances stars from their own humanity. Johnson, perhaps more than any contemporary figure, embodies this paradox. He has built an empire worth hundreds of millions by selling authenticity, yet that very success has trapped him in an increasingly artificial existence. The manufactured authenticity machine. Johnson's Instagram account reads like a masterclass in strategic vulnerability. Pre-dawn workout videos, motivational mantras, and carefully curated family moments paint the picture of a man who has achieved the American dream through pure determination. "No one will outwork me," he declares in countless posts, positioning himself as the ultimate self-made success story. Yet this authenticity is itself a product, meticulously crafted and managed. The man who preaches genuine connection has been caught in multiple deceptions that reveal the calculated nature of his real moments. The In-N-Out Burger incident stands as a perfect metaphor for this crisis. 3 separate times Johnson posted about experiencing In-N-Out for the first time, each instance designed to manufacture a moment of relatable discovery. When confronted with evidence of these repeated first times, Johnson's response was telling. He amended his caption to read, "My first ever In-N-Out Burger experience." Again, thanks to the fans who reminded me that I went to In-N-Out years ago and forgot about it. The excuse rings hollow because it misses the point entirely. This wasn't about memory lapses, it was about the industrial production of authentic moments. The Fraser Mirror. What genuine vulnerability looks like. The contrast becomes stark when observing Johnson alongside Brendan Fraser, whose own journey through Hollywood's machinery offers a different model of celebrity authenticity. In their conversation, Fraser speaks openly about his struggles, his physical pain, and his acceptance of vulnerability as strength. "You ever feel like, it's okay, man, you can throw me off the back of a moving vehicle or light me on fire. Just don't say anything mean to me, 'cause that'll really hurt." Fraser's honesty creates space for Johnson to briefly drop his guard. When discussing The Smashing Machine, Johnson reveals something profound. "I felt like what Smashing Machine represented for me was, I'm living my dream. This is my dream, and not others' dreams." The distinction is crucial. For perhaps the first time in decades, Johnson was pursuing a project purely for artistic fulfillment, rather than brand reinforcement. Fraser's presence seems to unlock something in Johnson, a recognition of what he's lost in his ascent to global superstardom. "I felt every single thing I had done led to this moment," Johnson says about the Venice Film Festival reception for The Smashing Machine. It's a statement that carries both triumph and melancholy, suggesting years of work that felt disconnected from personal fulfillment. The wrestling genesis of perpetual performance. Understanding Johnson's identity crisis requires examining its origins in professional wrestling, an industry built on the deliberate blurring of reality and performance. As he revealed to Joe Rogan, WWE conditioning taught him to smile through it, regardless of audience hostility. "Vince and the company always told me, hey, you can't smile enough. Gratitude of attitude." This training created a performer incapable of authentic negative expression. Even when 20,000 fans chanted "Rocky sucks," Johnson was instructed to maintain his grateful smile. This programming, designed for wrestling entertainment, became the foundation of his entire public persona. The problem is that wrestling characters are meant to be temporary roles, not lifetime identities. The transformation from Rocky Maivia to The Rock to Dwayne The Rock. Johnson represents not evolution but calcification, a character that hardened into an inescapable identity. Wrestling taught him that authenticity could be manufactured, that genuine emotion could be turned on and off. and that audiences preferred their heroes uncomplicated and perpetually positive. The loneliness of perfect brand management. Johnson's admission about feeling alone despite living in a loud and noisy world reveals the isolation inherent in perfect brand management. Every public moment must be curated, every emotion filtered through the lens of brand consistency. The man who built his empire on connection has become increasingly disconnected from genuine human interaction. This isolation manifests in telling ways. His reported chronic lateness on film sets, dismissed by representatives as built into the schedule, suggests someone struggling with the basic responsibilities of collaborative work. The urination in bottles habit, framed as hyper-efficiency, reads more like someone who has lost touch with normal social boundaries. These behaviors don't indicate malice, but rather the disconnection that comes from treating oneself as a brand rather than a person. The tragedy is that Johnson's early career showed genuine promise for authentic connection. His initial wrestling success came from acknowledging audience rejection and transforming it into character development. His early film choices showed willingness to take risks and embrace failure. But as his brand value increased, the space for genuine vulnerability diminished. The fragility behind the fortress. The Smashing Machine represents Johnson's first attempt in years to prioritize artistic authenticity over brand management. His physical transformation, losing the superhuman physique that defines his image, required him to literally shed the armor of perfection. The prosthetics and weight changes served not just the character, but as a form of emotional protection, allowing him to access vulnerability while hidden behind Mark Kerr's identity. The Venice Film Festival response moved Johnson to tears because it represented validation for work done purely for personal fulfillment. "This is not for me," he said of the standing ovation. "I felt like it was a completion of a journey, the fulfillment of a dream," that maybe would never have uttered to admit to having. The qualification is heartbreaking, a man so committed to projecting strength that he couldn't even acknowledge having dreams. Fraser's recognition of this achievement, "Dwayne, you've done it, you're here," carries the weight of professional validation, but also human recognition. It acknowledges not just Johnson's performance, but his courage in temporarily abandoning the safety of his manufactured persona. The impossible prison of success. Johnson's crisis illuminates a broader problem with contemporary celebrity culture. The demand for constant content, perpetual positivity, and brand consistency creates conditions where authentic humanity becomes impossible to maintain. Social media has turned every public figure into a content creation machine, requiring the constant production of authentic moments that are, by their very nature, inauthentic. The in-and-out deception isn't an isolated incident, but a symptom of a system that demands constant novelty while requiring absolute consistency. Johnson can't simply enjoy a burger. He must create content around it. He can't have a normal experience. Every moment must serve the brand. This system doesn't just affect Johnson, it shapes the entire entertainment landscape. Audiences, trained to expect constant access to their favorites, lose the ability to distinguish between person and persona. The star becomes trapped in a feedback loop where authenticity becomes performance and performance becomes identity. The path forward. Lessons from the Smashing Machine. The Smashing Machine offers a potential roadmap for Johnson's escape from this trap, but only if he can resist the urge to fold it back into his brand narrative. The film's success must not become another achievement to leverage for motivational content or brand expansion. Instead, it should serve as proof that audiences hunger for authentic artistic expression over manufactured inspiration. Fraser's career renaissance offers a model. Embrace the full spectrum of human experience, including failure, vulnerability, and imperfection. The public responded to Fraser's honesty about his struggles not with rejection, but with deeper admiration. Authenticity, it turns out, is more compelling than perfection. For Johnson, this would require the courage to disappoint, to let his social media presence become less consistent, his public appearances more genuine, and his project choices more personally meaningful. It would mean accepting that true connection requires risk and that real strength often looks like weakness. The alternative is the continued calcification of a persona that increasingly resembles a prison. Johnson's empire was built on the promise of authentic achievement, but maintaining that promise has required the sacrifice of authentic experience. The exhausting performance continues, but beneath it lies a man who, in rare moments of honesty, admits to feeling alone despite being surrounded by millions of fans. In the end, Johnson's identity crisis reflects our own cultural moment, a time when the line between authentic self-expression and strategic brand management has become impossible to discern. His struggle isn't just personal, it's emblematic of a society that has turned human connection into content and authentic experience into marketing material. The question isn't whether Johnson can escape this trap, but whether any of us can.